You have gone so left field in this
I tell you
podcast
what,
so far.
I'm feeling pretty reckless and edgy today.
There's just so many positives about the Sheffield United side, and Paul Heckingbottom deserves so much credit.
It's not a surprise, but I think the finger well and truly needs to be pointed at the likes of Dean Hoyle and Lee Bromby.
But I think Nathan Jones could be one who a lot of clubs in the Premier League will look at and think maybe he's worth a go.
So it's basically like me walking to a restaurant and my food's on the table. He's walking into Sunderland and everything's there for him, ready.
I'm going to hit the obvious shot here. I think Justin João Pedro, for me, has just got the ability to be a world beater.
Odion Ighalo, Troy Deeney, Matai Vidra as a front three was just ridiculous. In fact, it should have been made illegal by the EFL.
Coming off the bench, he was why are you laughing?
You can't say Brett Pittman can compete with Odion Ighalo, can you? I'm sorry, my attack's better. Yeah, well, my attack's better. I'm just saying.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the week. It's time for the Stopwatch with us from the second tier. I'm Ryan. That's Justin Peach. We have 2 minutes, a 2-minute timer to answer 5 topics, all to do with the Championship, with your 2 hosts. Justin, shall we jump right into it? With vacancies still at Premier League clubs such as Bournemouth and Brighton, do you think any Championship clubs will be fearing losing their manager?
I don't think there are many clubs that are in that category just yet, maybe partway through the season. But if I was to pick out one boss in particular, I'd probably go Mark Robins. I know Coventry are bottom of the league at the moment, but actually what he's done at Coventry over the years has been absolutely spectacular. He's got them playing good style of football, a nice style of football as well. And he's improved players. You look at where Victor Gyökeres has come from in recent years to what he is now. He's worth 15, 20 million pounds, to quote some Coventry fans. So to get him into that level to where he was is incredible. And I think Mark Robins does deserve a chance at a club that are going to back him, whether that's a Premier League club or a Championship club, I don't know. But Robins certainly, I think, should at least be in the thinking for maybe the Bournemouth job.
I've got to say, Justin, that is a wild card shot. I did not see that coming at all. Really, considering the start that he's had?
Yeah, I don't think that's down to him. I don't think that's down to his players. I think that's down to the club letting him down. But Robins, yeah, I think, as I say, style of play, improving players, blooding in youngsters. He ticks every single box for a manager who deserves a chance at a club who wants to further themselves.
Strange. All right. If you say so. I think there are a few managers. I think the likes of Russell Martin and Ryan Lowe have attractive styles of play, which I think clubs will look at and go, okay, these are young managers. Sure, results haven't been amazing so far, but they have the philosophy that Premier League clubs will like. But I think Nathan Jones could be one who a lot of clubs in the Premier League will look at and think maybe he's worth a go. The obvious question mark would be how he did at Stoke. When he left Luton in his only other job so far, it was a disaster. But the Stoke job has been a disaster for quite a few managers at this point. So I wonder if Nathan Jones could be the next young British manager we see make the next step up into the Premier League, just because of the job he's done so far with a very limited budget, the desire he manages to put into a squad and how he builds this unit. I think that will be an attractive thing for managers and for Premier League clubs. And it wouldn't surprise me if he were to get given a top job sooner rather than later. If not, then I think Luton will be loving life under him and will be looking to get to the Premier League at some point in their own right anyway. Let's talk Danny Schofield's exit at Huddersfield then, Justin. Do you think it was the right decision?
Yep, completely do. And it's hard to make an argument for it not being the case, although the argument would be he's been put in a bad position by his hierarchy, hasn't he, at Huddersfield? He's been dealt a bad hand, to be really blunt about it. He's been thrown into the deep end, just to throw every single cliche in there. But he really has been, and I do feel for him. But at the same time, Huddersfield have been incredibly poor. They're a team that haven't looked like a team that gels. He doesn't know his best 11. And frankly, style of play, I don't know what it is. He's perhaps stuck by a couple of players who need dropping, but again, squad depth isn't that great. There's not a lot of depth in that team, so yeah, it's not a surprise. But I think the finger well and truly needs to be pointed at the likes of Dean Hoyle and Lee Bromby.
Yeah, I completely understand what you mean. I don't think it is his fault. I think the squad has just been absolutely ravaged over the summer. They were much weaker side than they were last season, losing the likes of O'Brien, Toffolo, Colwill, Sinani. I mean, the list goes on, really, doesn't it? And what you've been left with is a squad which is very bang average at championship level. And while I don't think it's Schofield's fault that they've started so poorly, I think he did. I think it was the right decision to sack him, just because I think a manager in his first role getting something out of this team is always a big, big ask. So you need someone who's more experienced at this level to get any form of results with this team, because it is just lacking in so many areas, and it's going to be a tough job for whoever does get the job there, Justin. Justin, who's the biggest prospect in the championship right now?
I'm going to go slightly differently. I'm going to go with Bristol City player. Alex Scott is usually the player that I would say, but we've shone a light on him quite a lot so far this season. So I'm going to go with Tommy Conway, and that's obvious because he's scoring goals. But I think it's so difficult for a young player to come through in a team and hit the ground running. And to do that as a forward, I think is even harder. But what he's shown is he's got that goal scoring and predatory instinct that you need to be a forward that thrives in any division. He's getting himself into really good areas. His link-up play with the likes of Naki Wales, Andy Vyman, and even Semenyo coming into the team now is almost getting to a point where it's telepathic. And for some reason, Pearson's had a really good way of getting his forwards working together at the same time since he joined Bristol City, and I think that's it's brilliant management. But Tommy Conway to get 5 goals as a youngster, I think is great, and he's got more facets to his game, and he's got the best tutors, mentors in the likes of Chris Martin and Naki Wales, because they've been there and done it at championship level.
I mean, you could pick quite a few players as a Bristol City, really, couldn't you? Semenyo, Scott, Masengo, Doyle. But I think really any of them are just fantastic, aren't they? I said Doyle, I mean Conway, sorry. But yeah, really, really good players at Bristol City. I'm going to hit the obvious shot here. I think Justin João Pedro, for me, has just got the ability to be a world beater. When you've played as well as he has at such a young age, I mean, he's nearly... I think he's 21. I think whatever the case, he's still so ridiculously young, and he's one of the best, most talented players in the championship, without a doubt, for me. And you could very easily see him doing what we've seen many top elite players now have done in the past, where they've plied their trade at the second tier level to really cut their teeth and make themselves ready for the step up to the Premier League. And I feel like that's what we're seeing this season. On many occasions this season, he has been a one-man wrecking crew for Watford. A lot of the rest of the team has really struggled to play as well as he has, and he has been their main creative outlet on many occasions, but he's also been their main goal-scoring outlet as well. Watford will be in such a disastrous position without him, and they're so lucky that he stuck around this summer. Because without a doubt, they've got one hell of a player on their hand. And I know Newcastle were offering 25 million in the summer. I think, considering what he potentially could be, maybe it was the right decision by Watford to keep a hold of him, because without a doubt, they have got one hell of a talented player on their hands here. He's such a joy to watch. I love him. I think he's a fantastic player. Justin, who will be the happiest boss in the league right now?
I'm going to go slightly left field with this. I'm going to say Tony Mowbray.
You have gone so left field in this podcast so far.
I'm feeling pretty reckless and edgy today, I tell you. But I'm going to go with Tony Mowbray at Sunderland. And the reason why is because I think the position that Sunderland are in, he's walking into a club that are going in the right direction. They're run very well by Christian Speakman. Alex Neil has left them in a really good place. They've got a really good squad. So it's basically like me walking to a restaurant and my food's on the table. He's walking into Sunderland and everything's there for him, ready. And I think any manager that's got that ability, he's just got to go in, coach the players, and maintain their form and maintain their consistency. And Mowbray, we know he can do that. So yeah, I've got to go with Tony Mowbray purely because he's got everything. He's walked into a really good situation at Sunderland.
I can see where you're coming from. I certainly can. It makes a lot more sense than some of the other shouts. But yeah, he'll be a happy manager. But I struggle to see any manager being happier right now than Paul Heckingbottom. when he came in at Sheffield United for the permanent job for the second time, or was he caretaker the first time? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Whatever the case, when he came on, I don't think Sheffield United fans were particularly convinced by him, but he has gone a long way this season to convincing the fans that he is the right man for the job. I think he's always been quite an underrated manager anyway, but the way he has been getting the most out of all the players there is pretty astonishing. I mean, Ollie McBurney went 21 months without scoring a goal now, but he's scored 3 goals on the bounce. So getting a player like him back to the player that we know, considering he was at such a low before, I think is a pretty amazing achievement in itself. But then the likes of Sander Berger, Iliman Ndiaye, players we know are quality players, have been hitting top form on a regular basis in the first 9 games of the season so far. Defensively, they're rock solid as well. There's just so many positives about the Sheffield United side, and Paul Heckingbottom deserves so much credit for that, because they're playing the best football they have done in 2 or 3 years now, basically since the Wilder days. And right now have been, without a doubt, the cream of the crop in the Championship. And I think Sheffield United would have been fairly happy with doing a similar season, kind of what Watford have been doing so far, if you see what I mean. But they've been astonishing so far. By far the best team in the Championship, and Heckingbottom will be absolutely buzzing with the season they've had so far. Justin, final question. It's second tier retro time. What do you think is the best attack in Championship history? We're not talking, strike partnerships necessarily. We're talking full-blown attacking quality.
Full-blown attack. I mean, it's a shame, because I would have definitely gone with Nathan Allington, Jason Roberts, because I love that duo. But if we're going with attack, I'm going with the 14-15 Watford side under Jokanovic, because they were just sensational. Odion Ighalo, Troy Deeney, Matai Vidra as a front three was just ridiculous. In fact, it should have been made illegal by the EFL for those 3 to be in the team, because just an unreal trio of players to go forward. And considering that Ighalo only started 22 games and he scored 20 goals, I think is just absolutely madness. Almin Abdi as well chipped in with 9 goals. He only made 32 appearances. Daniel Tosa as well. Forestieri couldn't get a game. He only made 24 appearances in that team. Just, it was an unreal team, an unreal attack, and I don't think we'll see too many teams going forward with that much individual attacking talent in it. It was just completely blew teams out of the water, and Jokanovic got it going.
Well, Justin, I can do one better than you, because I'm going to go for the team that won the league in that particular season. That was Bournemouth. You look at the players they had in that team. I mean, Callum Wilson was the obvious standout. He scored 20 goals, but I think I'm right in saying he's the only Championship player ever to get 15 goals and 15 assists in one season. I think I'm right in saying that. I might be wrong, but either way, he had an amazing season and really showed the potential that he has, that we've gone on to see since. But Matt Ritchie was unplayable that season. He was absolutely brilliant. But he also had Jan Kermigant, who was an excellent foil for Callum Wilson, but also scored 15 goals himself. Mark Pugh was really good on the left wing as well. But then you also had Brett Pittman as well, who's one of those players you kind of forget about, really. But coming off the bench, he was why are you laughing?
You can't say Brett Pittman can compete with Odion Ighalo, can you? I'm sorry, my attack's better. Yeah, well, my attack's better. I'm just saying, carry on as you were.
I don't know where you're getting that from, but I mean, Bournemouth won the league that season, so there you go. But then you also had Harry Arter chipping in with goals as well. Harry Arter not really ever been a goal scorer by his own right, but 9 goals from midfield is nothing. Not to be sniffed at, is it? Overall, they scored 98 goals that season. Watford scored 91. I think that's the end of the argument for me, isn't it? So there we go. This has been the Stopwatch with the second tier. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and particularly which Championship manager you think could step up to the Premier League at some point in the near future. There's quite a few out there who could definitely step up to the top tier. But also subscribe for more content like this within the Second Tier Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Second Tier Pod. I'm Ryan Dilks 1. That's Justin Peach 27. And thank you for watching.